the beginning of a new era at Mazda. This product has been an overwhelming response from our early customers.
Mazda just dropped a bombshell, and it could change everything we thought we knew about cars. The company is bringing back its famous rotary engine.
This addition gives the driver more confidence and enhances the sense of safety.
But this time with a new twist that has people talking. Some believe this new technology could challenge the rise of electric vehicles and even shake up the entire auto industry. How can an old idea come back this strong? And why now, when EVs seem to be taking over? Join us in this video as we break down what Mazda is doing and why it matters more than you think. A silent revolution. Mazda's game-changing drive experience. Mazda didn't just build a new engine. They quietly redefined what driving is supposed to feel like. For years, rotary engines were known for their unique character, but also for being a bit loud and rough around the edges. This time, things are different. Mazda has taken that old identity and completely transformed it into something modern, refined, and surprisingly peaceful. One of the biggest changes is something you don't see. You feel it. Silence. The company has added advanced sound-absorbing panels along with improved vibration control technology. The result? Step inside the cabin and it's almost completely quiet. It feels less like a traditional petrol car and more like sitting inside a high-end electric vehicle. There's no constant engine noise, no shaking, no distractions. Just calm, smooth motion. And that's exactly what Mazda is aiming for, giving drivers the best of both worlds. You get the smooth, quiet feel of an electric car, but without the stress that usually comes with it. No worrying about finding a charging station. No anxiety about how far you can go before the battery runs out. At the same time, there's no compromise in performance either. The system itself is smart and almost invisible in how it works. When the battery starts running low, the rotary engine quietly turns on in the background. When the battery is full again, it switches off just as smoothly. All of this happens so seamlessly that most drivers won't even notice it happening. There's no interruption, no sudden noise, just a continuous, comfortable drive. Mazda has also paid close attention to size and weight. The new rotary engine is incredibly compact and lightweight. Even after adding the hybrid system, the car doesn't feel heavy or bulky. And that's a big deal. A lighter car means better balance, improved fuel efficiency, and quicker performance. Everything feels more responsive and alive. Press the accelerator, and the response is immediate. There's no delay, no hesitation, just instant movement. It almost feels like the car suddenly unlocks an extra burst of energy from within. Because the engine is small and has less internal friction, the power delivery stays smooth and consistent. There are no sudden jumps or uneven surges. Instead, the acceleration feels clean and straight, giving you that same flowing experience people love in electric cars. But Mazda didn't stop at speed and power. They went deeper into the driving experience itself. Their engineers worked on creating a setup that feels natural in every situation. The suspension has been specially tuned so that bumps on the road feel softer and less noticeable. At the same time, advanced noise control keeps the cabin peaceful, even on rough surfaces. Another key detail is how the car transitions between power sources. There are no traditional gear shifts, no jerks, no awkward pauses. Everything flows smoothly, almost like the car is thinking ahead for you. It feels balanced, controlled, and effortless, like everything is happening exactly when it should. And this is where things start to get really interesting. Because what Mazda has done here is not just about one car or one engine, it's something that's beginning to ripple across the entire auto industry. Whenever a company introduces something truly different, it doesn't stay limited to just that brand. It creates a shift, a wave that forces everyone else to stop and rethink. That's exactly what's happening now. Mazda's new hybrid rotary system is making even the biggest players pause and ask a serious question. Did they take the right path, or did they miss something important? The first signs of this shift are already visible in the electric car market. For years, companies focused heavily on bigger batteries, faster charging, and expanding charging networks. That was the main direction, but Mazda approached the problem from a completely different angle. Instead of only improving charging, they asked, what if we reduce the need for it altogether? When a company claims that its car can travel between 800 to 1,000 kilometers without the usual charging hassle, it naturally gets people thinking. Do drivers really need to depend on charging stations all the time? Is there a simpler way? In Europe, this idea is already starting to gain attention. Governments are strongly promoting electric vehicles, but the charging infrastructure still isn't perfect everywhere. In many areas, it's still developing. Because of that, more people are slowly turning toward hybrid and plug-in hybrid options as a practical middle ground. Mazda's system fits perfectly into this situation. It offers the smooth feel of an electric car, while still giving the freedom and reliability of petrol. For many drivers, that balance makes more sense right now. Some experts even believe that if Mazda expands this technology quickly, it could lead to a major shift in Europe's hybrid market. The United States is also beginning to show signs of change. Until recently, electric vehicles had a strong hold, especially with dominant players leading the space. But now, customers are starting to think more practically. They don't just want innovation, they want convenience. They want something that fits easily into their daily lives. And that's where Mazda stands out. Its approach is simple, reliable, and user-friendly. It doesn't ask drivers to completely change their habits. Instead, it adapts to them. In markets like the US, where people value both power and ease of use, that combination can be very powerful. Some industry estimates suggest that if Mazda pushes this technology aggressively, its market share could grow significantly within the next 2 years. That kind of growth isn't just about numbers. It shows a shift in what people want. In Asia, the impact could be even bigger. Countries like Japan are already familiar with Mazda's reputation, but in places like India, the opportunity is huge. Charging infrastructure is still developing, and many people are hesitant about fully electric cars. Think about the common concerns: charging time, electricity costs, and reliability for long-distance travel. These are real issues for everyday buyers. Now imagine a car that feels like an electric vehicle but charges itself using petrol when needed. That removes most of those worries instantly. That's why many people are calling this a perfect solution for developing markets. It offers modern technology without the usual limitations. At the same time, major companies are paying close attention. This isn't a small update that can be ignored. It's a serious challenge. Some reports suggest that other automakers are already working on similar compact range extender systems. That alone shows how much impact Mazda has created. Even investors are noticing the shift. After the reveal of this technology, there was movement in Japan's automotive sector. Many believe that Mazda has found a practical path forward, one that could stay relevant for the next decade. There's also a growing belief that the rapid rise of electric vehicles might slow down slightly. Not because EVs are failing, but because hybrids are making a strong comeback, this time with much more advanced technology. From an environmental point of view, this change is important too. In the past, hybrids were often seen as a temporary solution. Not fully clean, not fully traditional. But now, with better efficiency and lower emissions, they are becoming a more serious option. In regions like Europe and Japan, experts are starting to see this as a transition technology, a way to reduce pollution gradually without forcing a sudden and difficult shift. In the end, what Mazda has done goes beyond engineering. They haven't just created a new system, they've reopened the entire conversation. Electric versus hybrid is no longer a simple debate. The lines are starting to blur, and that's what makes this moment so important. The rules of the game are changing, and this time, no one is completely sure what comes next. How did this quiet drive now lead to a bigger industry shift? Keep watching to find out. Mazda's game-changing hybrid strategy, redefining the future beyond EVs. Now, the conversation is shifting in a very interesting way. Earlier, the big question was simple. Will the future be fully electric or not? But that's no longer the real debate. The focus is changing. Now, people are asking something deeper. What if a smart hybrid system, one that combines the strengths of both electric and petrol, is actually more practical? It's a bit like the moment when the world moved from feature phones to smartphones. That wasn't just an upgrade. It was a complete shift in thinking. And today, the auto industry feels like it's standing at a similar turning point. Everything is evolving, but no one is completely sure which direction will win. And this is exactly where Mazda's real advantage lies. It didn't try to fight directly with electric vehicles. It didn't try to outdo them in battery size or charging speed. Instead, it changed the rules of the game itself. While others were running in the same race, Mazda quietly created a new one. Many experts are now saying that Mazda didn't join the EV race. It started a completely different race altogether. And if, in the future, people begin traveling long distances without worrying about charging stops, this moment might be remembered as where that idea truly began. If you look closely at the past few years, the electric vehicle industry has had a very clear structure. Tesla was leading the space, with BYD right behind. Other companies were following the same direction, trying to catch up using similar strategies. The approach was almost identical across the board. Build bigger batteries, improve charging speed, and expand charging networks. At the same time, promote the idea of clean, green energy. It was a straightforward path, and everyone was moving along it. But Mazda disrupted this pattern with a single idea. What if the car could generate its own electricity? If that's possible, then why depend so heavily on charging stations in the first place? That one thought was enough to shake the entire EV ecosystem. When Mazda introduced its Rotary hybrid range extender system, it wasn't just presenting a new piece of technology. It challenged the foundation of how electric vehicles are supposed to work. Because now, if a car can drive like a fully electric vehicle, but continue running without needing frequent charging, it changes how people think. Naturally, a question starts forming in the minds of buyers. If I can get the same smooth, quiet driving experience without the hassle of charging, then what is the real advantage of paying more for a fully electric car? That question is slowly spreading, and it's becoming harder for the industry to ignore. Right now, the market is beginning to split into two clear directions. On one side, there are companies still fully committed to battery-powered electric vehicles. On the other side, there is a growing interest in smart hybrid systems like Mazda's. Many experts believe this shift could slow down the rapid growth of EVs, at least for a while. And the reason is simple. The biggest challenge for electric vehicles has always been charging, how long it takes, and how easily it can be done. Companies have invested billions trying to solve this problem, but Mazda approached it differently. Instead of improving charging, it reduced the need for it. That changes everything. Reports are already suggesting that other automakers are reacting quickly. Companies like BYD and Hyundai are said to be accelerating their work on hybrid and range extender technologies. At the same time, even Tesla is starting to face questions, especially from investors. If hybrid systems turn out to be more practical for everyday use, what happens to the demand for fully electric models? This uncertainty is what's currently creating movement in the market. It's not just about competition anymore, it's about direction. Mazda isn't stopping here. The company is already planning to expand this technology into larger vehicles, including SUVs like the Mazda CX-60 and the Mazda CX-90 over the next few years. The goal is clear. Mazda wants to set a new standard in the hybrid space, with engines that are small, powerful, and highly efficient, without adding unnecessary complexity. Looking further ahead, the company has outlined a broader vision leading up to 2030. Instead of depending on a single solution, Mazda plans to keep its entire lineup flexible. Some vehicles will be pure hybrids, others plug-in hybrids, and some will combine electric driving with range extender systems. In simple terms, Mazda is not putting all its bets on one path. It's preparing for multiple possibilities at the same time. And that's what makes this strategy so interesting. At this point, it's clear that Mazda hasn't just introduced a new engine. It has shifted the entire conversation. Earlier, the focus was on which electric car charges the fastest or has the longest battery range. Now, a new question is emerging. Will charging even be necessary in the future? That single idea is creating both excitement and tension across the industry. Some see it as a breakthrough, while others see it as a challenge to everything they've built so far. But one thing is certain. Mazda hasn't simply joined the electric revolution. It has quietly redefined it. But how did Mazda make this impossible comeback work? Let's find out. Mazda's secret technology, the comeback that changed everything. Now we come to the part that truly shook the entire auto industry, Mazda's hidden strength. The technology behind its new Rotary engine that suddenly pushed it back into the spotlight. The Rotary engine has always been closely linked to Mazda's identity. It's something the company never fully gave up on, even when the rest of the industry moved in a different direction. But this time, things are not the same as before. Earlier, this engine had some serious drawbacks. Now, those same weak points have been carefully improved, almost re-engineered from the ground up. In simple terms, Mazda didn't just bring back an old idea. It took that idea, upgraded it with modern technology, and reshaped it to fit today's needs. That's what makes this development so important. It's not about nostalgia, it's about evolution. To understand why this matters, you first need to know how a rotary engine works. In a regular engine, pistons move up and down to generate power. That's the traditional system most cars use. But in a rotary engine, things work differently. Instead of pistons, there's a rotor that spins in a circular motion. This rotation is what produces power. Because of this design, the engine is naturally smaller, lighter, and much smoother when running. But this design also came with problems in the past. The biggest ones were fuel consumption and heat. Older rotary engines used more petrol than expected and tended to heat up quickly. These issues made them less practical for everyday use, and over time, they became the reason why many people moved away from them. This is exactly where Mazda made its biggest move. The company introduced direct injection technology into the new rotary engine. What this means in simple words is that fuel is now delivered exactly where it is needed, in a much more controlled and precise way. Earlier, that level of accuracy wasn't possible, and some fuel would go to waste. Now, almost every drop is used efficiently. This change alone has made a big difference. Power has improved, and at the same time, fuel efficiency has become much better. So, something that was once considered a weakness is now starting to look like a strength. The next major upgrade is heat control, also known as thermal management. In older versions, the engine would heat up quickly because the cooling system wasn't strong enough to handle continuous performance. Mazda has now redesigned this completely. The new engine uses advanced cooling jackets and improved airflow inside the system. This helps keep the temperature stable even under pressure. The benefit is clear. When an engine stays cooler, it lasts longer and performs more consistently. It also reduces the chances of breakdown or damage over time. In other words, the engine becomes more reliable, which is exactly what modern drivers expect. Another important improvement is the reduction of friction inside the engine. Mazda has made the internal parts smoother and lighter than before. Special coatings, including something known as diamond-like carbon, have been used to achieve this. These coatings reduce the resistance between moving parts, allowing everything to operate more freely. The result is not just better efficiency, but also a quieter and smoother experience. Earlier, rotary engines had a unique sound that made them stand out, but it wasn't always in a good way. Now, that sound has been softened significantly. The engine feels calm, refined, and almost silent, very similar to the smoothness people associate with electric vehicles. And then comes one of the most impressive aspects: its size. This new rotary engine is extremely compact. It takes up very little space compared to traditional engines. That might sound like a small detail, but it has a big impact on the overall design of the car. Because the engine is so small, it can easily be combined with a battery and electric motor without making the vehicle bulky. This opens up new possibilities. Car designers can either use that extra space to install a larger battery or make the cabin more spacious and comfortable for passengers. It gives flexibility, which is a huge advantage in modern vehicle design. That's why many experts are calling this engine a mechanical marvel. It's small on the outside, but powerful and efficient on the inside. It combines smart engineering with practical design in a way that feels fresh and forward-thinking. At this point, it becomes very clear what Mazda has actually done. This is not just a revival of an old engine, it's a complete transformation. The company has taken something that once struggled to stay relevant and turned it into a solution that fits perfectly into today's world. And that is what makes this moment so important. Mazda didn't just bring the rotary engine back, it reinvented it. But before this comeback, why did the rotary engines disappear in the first place? Stay tuned to find out why the rotary engine disappeared and why its return feels unreal. To truly understand why this comeback feels so shocking, you first need to know why rotary engines disappeared in the first place. The rotary engine, originally known as the Wankel engine and named after its inventor, Felix Wankel, was once seen as the future of automotive engineering. Back in the 1960s and 1970s, it looked like a breakthrough that could completely change how cars were built and driven. The idea behind it was simple but revolutionary. Compared to traditional piston engines, the rotary was compact, lightweight, and had far fewer moving parts. Instead of pistons moving up and down, it used a spinning rotor to generate power. This allowed it to run incredibly smoothly and reach very high speeds with ease. On paper, it had everything needed to succeed, and no company believed in it more than Mazda. While other manufacturers experimented with the concept and then stepped away, Mazda fully committed. It became the only major automaker to mass-produce cars powered by rotary engines, building an identity around this unique technology. But despite all its advantages, the rotary engine had serious flaws, problems that couldn't be ignored for long. The first major issue was fuel economy. Compared to conventional engines, rotary engines consumed significantly more fuel. The reason for this came down to the design itself, the shape of the combustion chamber, and the way the air-fuel mixture moved inside the engine made it less efficient. As a result, more fuel was needed to produce the same amount of power. At a time when fuel was relatively cheap, this wasn't a deal-breaker. But then came a global turning point, the 1970s oil crisis. Suddenly, fuel efficiency became one of the most important factors for car buyers. Gas-guzzling engines were no longer acceptable, and the rotary quickly started to lose its appeal. Then came the second problem: emissions. Rotary engines struggled to burn fuel cleanly, which meant they released higher levels of hydrocarbons and other pollutants. As environmental awareness grew and governments began introducing stricter emission laws around the world, this became a serious challenge. For regulators, the rotary engine was becoming harder to approve. For manufacturers, it was becoming harder to justify. Mazda, however, didn't give up easily. The company continued to refine and improve the technology over the years. It introduced iconic models like the Mazda RX-7, which became a favorite among enthusiasts, and later the Mazda RX-8, which carried the rotary legacy forward into a more modern era. Each new version brought improvements, but the core issues never fully disappeared. Fuel efficiency and emissions were still challenges, and as the industry moved toward stricter regulations and more practical solutions, the gap became harder to close. By 2012, Mazda made a difficult decision. The RX-8 was discontinued, and with it, the Rotary engine was quietly put aside. It wasn't officially declared dead, but for all practical purposes, it had reached the end of its journey. Meanwhile, the rest of the automotive world moved on. Turbocharged four-cylinder engines became the new standard, offering a balance of power and efficiency. Diesel engines improved. Then came hybrids, followed by the rapid rise of electric vehicles. The industry was evolving fast, and the rotary engine no longer seemed to fit into that future. And for more than a decade, it stayed out of the spotlight. No major developments, no big announcements. It became something people remembered rather than something they expected to see again. That's why Mazda's announcement hit so differently. When the company revealed that it was bringing the rotary engine back, it wasn't just surprising, it felt almost unreal. Most people had already accepted that this chapter of automotive history was closed. And yet, here it is again, not just returning, but returning with a purpose. So, where did Mazda's incredible journey really begin? Keep watching to find out. From cork factory to innovation icon, the untold story of Mazda. Mazda's journey didn't begin with cars, engines, or even anything close to the automotive world. It started as a completely different kind of business. Back on January 30th, 1920, the company was founded in Hiroshima, Japan, under the name Toyo Cork Kogyo Company Limited. As the name suggests, it was originally a cork-making factory. At that time, no one could have imagined that this small company would one day become one of the most innovative names in the global auto industry. A few years later, in 1927, the company changed its name to Toyo Kogyo Company Limited. But things were not easy in the early days. By the late 1920s, the company was already facing serious financial trouble and was close to collapse. It was only saved from bankruptcy thanks to support from the Hiroshima Saving Bank and several local business leaders. That moment turned out to be critical, because without that rescue, Mazda, as we know it today, might never have existed. The real shift happened in 1931, when Toyo Kogyo moved away from machine tools and entered the vehicle business. Its first product was the Mazda Go, a three-wheeled auto rickshaw that marked the company's official entry into transportation. Around this time, the name Mazda also began to take shape. Interestingly, it wasn't the only name being considered. Options like Sumera Go and Tenchi Go were also on the table. The name Mazda itself carries a deeper meaning. According to the company, it comes from Ahura Mazda, a figure known as the god of harmony, intelligence, and wisdom from ancient West Asian civilization. At the same time, it was also inspired by the name of the company's founder, Jujiro Matsuda. The name symbolized a connection between East and West, as well as a vision for the future of automotive culture. Even the alternative names reflected strong spiritual meanings, Sumera meaning God, and Tenchi meaning angel, showing Matsuda's deep interest in faith and philosophy. In its early years, Mazda's branding was also linked with Mitsubishi Motors, which handled sales for its vehicles. The three-wheeled truck carried a joint identity, helping the company establish itself in the market. However, like many Japanese companies of that era, Toyo Kogyo was also involved in wartime production during the Second World War, manufacturing weapons for the military, including the Type 99 rifle series. After the war, the company returned to civilian production and slowly rebuilt its focus on vehicles. The name Mazda officially became the company's identity in 1984, although it had already been used for its vehicles long before that. In 1960, Mazda introduced its first passenger car, followed by another small model in 1962. These cars were sold through a dedicated dealership network, showing that the company was becoming more serious about the passenger vehicle market. As the years went on, Mazda expanded its lineup with models like the Savannah, Familia, Lucy, Cosmo, and Capella. These cars helped build the brand's presence not just in Japan, but also internationally. But what truly set Mazda apart was its bold decision in the 1960s to invest heavily in a very unusual technology, the rotary engine. Inspired by the German car NSU Ro 80, Mazda partnered with the German company NSU Motorenwerke to develop the Wankel rotary engine further. This move was risky, but it gave Mazda something no other Japanese automaker had: a unique identity. The first major result of this effort was the Cosmo Sport, launched in 1967. From there, Mazda continued to refine and promote rotary technology, eventually becoming the only major automaker in the world to stick with it long-term. Other companies, including NSU and Citroën, eventually abandoned the design, while even ambitious projects from General Motors never made it to production. Mazda's dedication started paying off. Its cars began reaching international markets, and both piston-powered and rotary-powered models gained attention. The rotary engines, in particular, became popular because they offered strong power while remaining lightweight. Models like the R100 and the RX series played a big role in expanding Mazda's global presence. By the late 1960s and early 1970s, Mazda had officially entered markets like Canada and the United States, where it quickly found success. In fact, it even created unique vehicles like a rotary-powered pickup truck specifically for North American buyers. To this day, Mazda remains the only company to have produced such a vehicle, along with other rare rotary-powered formats like buses and station wagons. What do you think about this new Mazda Bombshell? Let us know in the comments section below. In the end, this isn't just about a new rotary engine. It's about Mazda challenging the idea that the future must be fully electric. What once looked like a clear EV path is now a wider debate about smarter, more practical solutions. And maybe the real story is simple. The race for the future of cars is still wide open. If you enjoyed this, like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more big auto industry stories.